I'm like, so how can he have a son if he doesn't have a penis? I said, it doesn't make any sense. I was like, somebody explain this to me. Because God doesn't have a body. He can't make a baby with a lady. So what's the deal?
Who's a virgin?
Right, who's a virgin? And on top of that, you mean to tell me out of all the billions of people on the planet, God just hits on married women?
Welcome to the pod.
Okay, this is another public service announcement brought to you by another person from Detroit.
What's the deal?
Not shady.
Not
This
shady.
is the real Slam Shady.
The real.
Yalla l'chaim, guys.
L'chaim.
Chaim tovim v'shalom.
I'm Tommy Bisholi.
Those who clink, you can clink. I don't clink.
I just nod.
Yeah,
I
l'chaim.
don't care enough.
Chaim.
Thank you, Nissim, for the beverage.
Refreshing.
Yeah.
Spicy.
It's
Bold.
amazing. I love this.
Flavorful.
Hava.
Chava.
It's already almost finished.
Tell us, how was it to film the music video?
Oh my goodness.
Let's jump right in, yalla.
So that day was a very chaotic day, for me personally. And I think it was the night before somebody had reached out to me and they were like, hey, there's this video that we're shooting. It's an Nissim's video. Would you like to be in? You're like one of the Chevra. I was like, no problem. So I jumped on a bus and we drove to Bat Yam, and I immediately saw a friend of mine who was there. Besides Nissim, he was super excited to see me. His name is Kenny Hananya, One Wheel, the one-wheeler boards, right?
Let's put you.
So, okay. So, I feel like you guys are
Logistics.
like parents trying to tuck your shirt in. No, pull it out. No, tuck. Right. So
We
we
want
went-
people to see your beautiful face,
Oh,
man,
stop.
like in the video.
Stop. Lies and slander. Stop. Right. So
Actually,
the place where we were was actually a former insane asylum.
Ooh.
And it was like a compound. Beautiful building, massive building. And immediately, all of the women were like, we're going to go take the kids to the park. And this is I think this is even before we knew exactly what it was, because they just felt like something was you know?
I didn't even know.
So they left. We did our thing. And I was in and out. And I wanted to get back to Jerusalem. And there was another brother there. His name is David Moshe. He and his wife drove me back to Jerusalem. Had a glorious nap in the car. And it was a good day. It was a good day. And then it came out. And actually, I was coming back from the grocery store, I think probably 2 weeks ago. And this lady, because so this lady, she says to me, she said, in Hebrew, she's like, did Nissim Black Hava? And I was like, yeah.
Did she think you're Nissim Black, or did you think
No,
no?
but believe it or not, that oftentimes happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we clearly look alike. And I'm like, what are you, a junior police cadet? How could you possibly confuse me with Nissim? And people were just like, oh, actually somebody thought that I was the Chaim OG not too long ago. And they
You
were
guys
like,
don't at all look alike.
and no, but see, this brother didn't even know what he looked like. And he just assumed that it was me. And I was like, no, that's not me. And he was like, oh, sorry. I was like, don't worry about it. I'm not even tripping. Not even tripping.
So anyone who doesn't know,
You know,
we got with us Ariel Yaniv Ha'or Payne. Rashi Tevot. It's an acronym for Im Yirtzeh Hashem, if Hashem wants.
it's a crazy name.
I had no idea that it was actually somebody at a shtibel in Queens invited me to a wedding. And they wrote it down on the envelope. And they were like, oh. And they're just clamoring over that. Oh. And I'm like, what? And he was like, oh, if God wills it. And I was like, that's fine. We could
Im
do that.
Yirtzeh Hashem. Ariel Yaniv Ha'or.
Oh,
I had no idea. None. Zero.
did you pick your own name? Did you pick this name?
One was given. Another one was given. The other two were chosen. Ariel from Tractate Brachot, when it talks about the watches and the lion roars. And so that's the celestial lion, and he's in the service of God. So it's not Aryeh, it's Ariel, because it's he's in Shemayim, and he's helping count. He's the marker for that. So because to me, Ariel is Aryeh, it's just a lion, but Ariel is a lion with function.
It's also Beit HaMikdash.
There you go. The flame, baby. So Yaniv actually comes from a gentleman who I took care of. This probably had to be about at least 6 years ago when I was here. And he had been ran over by a bus when he was 4 years old. And they said he wouldn't live past the age of 10. And when I was his caretaker, he was turning 30.
Wow.
So
That's what the doctors told him when.
that's what they told right. That's what they told his mother. And so he's blind and he's deaf and he also had epilepsy.
Oh wow! Because of the accident.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, every day I go, I see him. You know, I take care of him, and then we're eating breakfast and we're reading a little Midrash Says, and we're doing like shout out to Midrash Says, right?
Yeah.
So we're
Does
doing,
he read it with the?
No, because he can't see.
So you read it to him.
I read it to him, but then when we do the tests, like in the back, he would only miss probably like 2 or 3.
Wow.
And he was there. And one day he kept going, Yaniv, Yaniv, Yaniv. He would call me Yaniv, 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 Yaniv. And I asked everybody, I'm like, who does he know named Yaniv? And they were like, nobody. He doesn't know anybody named Yaniv. So then we looked up the definition of Yaniv, and it has a dual definition: fruitful, and also he will succeed, or success, like succeeding.
Yeah.
And so I believed that in that time and that space that he was saying, Yaniv, you're going to succeed. Don't worry, you're going to succeed. You're going to succeed. And also, there was a gentleman who was taking care of him after. I had a friend of mine. His name was Dove. And beforehand, he had told me in Hebrew that he was scared of bears. And I didn't know that Dove meant bear. But also, I have a tattoo of a bear rug on my arm. And of course, he's blind, so he's never saw it. And he just told me one day in Hebrew, he's like, I'm afraid of bears. I was just like, oh, man. I was like, bro, really?
Saginaho. That's why in Aramaic, in Jewish tradition, a blind person, we call them Saginaho, which means they see very well.
His mother actually believed.
Is that why you called yourself Or after Yaniv?
No, Ha'or actually comes from when I was younger. I was a museum educator at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, which was the largest of its kind in the world before they built the one in D.C. And I started there as a volunteer when I was 13 years old. And I'm like, you know, hanging up people's coats and giving people pamphlets, telling them where the bathroom is. But I was like, I can totally do more. And they have what's called the education department, because these are the people who, because the curators, they curate the exhibits, right? And the education department, based upon what we have in the museum, they learn as much as they can about it so they can give over like the best information.
And they're the guides.
Right. And I was like, I could totally do that. So I would also get in a lot of trouble because I would follow them around and like leave my post. But then on my lunch break, I would just be like, oh, so what about this? And I read this
What
book.
type of museum was this?
The African American Museum, the Museum of African American History.
In the United States?
In Detroit, right.
Oh.
And so there was this one day where they were just overran with visitors. And they're like, oh, we got X amount of people coming, whoop, 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 whoop. I'm in the back like, I can do it. Like jumping.
Pick me.
Like, pick me. And so they were like, what could it possibly hurt? So they did it. And they just got all of these rave reviews. Like, yo, this kid, like, he was shooting it off. Like, he's so articulate. And I'm like 13, 14, like, working with people who have PhDs. And, like, it felt like I was
You were
in
13, 14.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it felt like I was in Yeshiva before I was in Yeshiva, because every day I would show up, get my tea, and just sit and just study.
Wait, around this time you were in Yeshiva already?
No, it felt like I was in Yeshiva, right? So I was just like
Later on,
right? Because I'm like,
that makes sense.
I'm like,
that's what the preparation was for, maybe.
Took the words right out of my mouth, sorry. Right out of my mouth.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, and I had this.
It's crazy also to think like Yaniv, you got from a blind person, right?
Yes.
And then you got the name Or right after that.
But I got Ha'or, the light, when I was like this kid doing these tours, because I had this one mentor. He was like, bro, you're the light. You're changing life every day. You're changing people's lives every day. Wow. He was like, be the light. And even when he couldn't say it, and like we were like in the same, because it was a big building, he would just see me, he would just point at me. And I just knew what he was saying. So when I came out the mikvah, they were like, what's your name? I said, I am Ariel Yaniv Ha'or. They said, fine. Beautiful. Wrote it down.
Wow, that's insane.
So much crazy. What is that like, picking a name?
There's like a little bit of pressure, because it's going to be with you for the rest of your life. And also,
and you went by something for so far. Like until that name, you had another name. Right?
Exactly. And so, and also because of the power of Lashon Kodesh, and also because of the power of the letters, that name carries like amazing amounts of weight. Amazing amounts.
Comes through your name.
Exactly. So, I mean, I wasn't really tripping about it. I was just like, okay, that's good. And also the whole like lion aspect, crazy story. So my father, of blessed memory, was the mayor of the city of Pontiac, Michigan. Before that, he was a career police officer of 17 years. Before that, he was an author, and he actually he was a thespian also.
A what?
A thespian, like
what does that mean?
An actor.
Oh wow,
like
this is a very fancy word.
Right, thespian. Right.
Oh.
So
It goes in my Belgian dictionary.
what he did was he found, because there was this system, this like guerrilla system of resistance against slavery in America, and one of the facets of it was something called the Underground Railroad, and it was a situation to where self-emancipated Africans could seek their freedom south of the Mason-Dixon line into like Mexico, or even as far as Cuba, or up north into Canada.
To escape, basically.
Exactly. So what my father did was he was able to find the connecting points that would take you from one part of Michigan to Detroit, which was codenamed Midnight, before they would take you across the Detroit River to Canada. He found the houses, and like he interviewed people because he was like an investigative journalist, and he did this like play about it. And I totally forgot what I was saying because I went off on my daddy tangent. But
we're talking about your name and
the name,
Essence.
that essence.
By the way, talking about names, I'm now actually in that dilemma now.
Because you have the honor.
Zaltov, it's a baby boy.
It's crazy, man.
Anyone who missed it, because there's no chance you could have known. Avidan's wife, Baruch Hashem, gave birth.
Thank you, Hashem. Wasn't
few days
easy.
ago.
Oh my gosh! If they only told us how crazy it is.
Well,
Man, they said you just push a few times. I was standing outside, and it was going on for so long, and I was like, God, how much more? Like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And then, wow, it's unreal.
So yeah, I totally forgot what I was saying because I went off on the father tangent.
Yeah, we're giving advice. Like, I shouldn't stress out too much. Right. It just comes, right? Because like they say, like when the bris comes to you in Ruach HaKodesh. So especially because you're a convert, right?
Yes.
So when you're a convert, you must get some type of that too.
Let me stop you for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you said you're a convert, right? I love that. You didn't assume. That's dope. Good on you.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Like I wasn't sure if you were, because we talked about, because we're doing some research, but I wasn't sure. You know, my dad actually is a convert himself, and yeah, it's really awesome to be like, they say, like, you know, you always want to be like the son of like someone like important, or like you want to be like the generation of someone like, oh, I can call back like my father and my grandfather, this Rebbe. I'm like, my father is a convert. It's the holiest you can get, basically.
I'm going to tell you something. There was a convert, his name was Ovadia, and he wrote a letter to the Rambam. And the question was, when I do the Amidah, like, do I say ours and we and us?
Avotenu. Yeah.
Right, and the Rambam was like, bro, of course. And so he just keeps going. I actually keep this letter in my tefillin bag. And he just keeps telling him about how it's okay, And he closes the letter by saying, I am a descendant of Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, but you are a descendant of the Almighty because you're a convert.
No, it's interesting because I thought about the other way around. I thought it like, because you're a convert, you're even closer to Avraham Avinu. Because you know what they say? Like the sparks are like the ones that Avram like converted or something, or like they're like his children, something like this, right? They say something.
A nefesh, so they made a nefesh.
But there's like different opinions about this. There's so many interesting things about this.
Bottom line, in the Torah, it's written once, that you love yourself, that your neighbor, your fellow Jew, as yourself. It's written once in the Torah, and it's written 36 times. 36 times. So
wow.
People need to be very aware of what's written in the Torah.
So after this podcast, we're going to hug 36 times.
I mean, I'm down. I got a funny story about that. So I was at an institution, and the institution, wonderful, wonderful community. And one day, the Rosh Kollel approaches me, and this is like Shabbat, right? So like, people are going their own way, going to meals, whatever. And he comes to me and he says, "Are you pre or post Garris?" This is my first time speaking to this man. So he just says, "Are you pre or post Garris?" And I said, "What made you think I'm a convert?" He says, "Well," he just looks me up and down. I said, "So, what do you think?" He's like, "I'm not sure." I said, "I'll tell you what. I'll answer your question. If you and this wasn't coming from a place of haughtiness, like at all. I was just like, this is a teachable moment, and also, you're a Rosh Kollel, so you should know what you're doing." I said, "This is what we're going to do. If the answer is what you think it is, I want you to do the mitzvah attached to that answer." He said, "What's the mitzvah?" I said, "I want you to take me to your home. I want you to sit me next to you, and I'm charging you with the responsibility of serving me the entire Shabbat Suda, because I want you to have that merit." He says,
Amazing.
"Well, let's not put conditions on it." Shabbat Shalom. He goes on his way. But ta-ta. Right. But then to his credit, I was a guest at his house several times after that.
Wow.
So I slugged him up a little bit, but I guess he thought about it, and he was like, yeah. But it's
You can't
all
just
good.
learn it. You have to live it.
For sure.
Yeah. For me, it's very different because I went to the army and filled with Ethiopian Jews. So it's like, it's not even like a question. And they were actually my best friends. They're like the most compassionate.
Most hilarious
And
people.
the most funny. Also, yeah.
I remember when I used to have long hair. I used to go to this space in Hadavidka to get my hair braided. And, they're like playing the music and like da-da-da. And just for like relatability, when I like got out of my chair, I went like this. The lady was like, right? She was right. They were like, you doing it? They're like, that's bro, right?
I told we spoke about L'chaim Maji. I told Zachariah the other day, he has this song Bani Yisrael, he has on the whole album. He has like all the different tribes in different places, and I told him, I was like, man, when I hear that, I just have to do the Ethiopian shoulder dance. I just have to get it out. Like, that song just makes me move. Yeah, it's funny, though. It's funny. The Ethiopians, it's hilarious to me because when I got here to Israel, right, I came from Miami, like, completely drenched into hip-hop culture and everything. Then I'm, like, in Israel, I'm in the army, and I see all these Ethiopians trying to be, like, African Americans in the U.S., like Black Americans.
Exactly.
Guys, you don't understand how rich your culture is. Like, don't give up on that. Like,
but see, here's the
trying
thing.
to go into hip hop culture, which is new, and you're Ethiopian. Like,
but see, here's the thing. They understand how rich it is, but it's something of antiquity, and it doesn't really matter to them. As a matter of fact, the Ethiopians are the only, I think it's Uganda or Zambia. I can't remember which one it is, but Ethiopia is the only country in the kind of Africa that was never successfully colonized because you had two different waves of an Italian invasion.
they whooped them.
Like Ethiopia.
Yeah. And I'm talking about
Ethiopia beat it to Italy with all their guns.
I'm talking about like submachine guns versus spears and like flintlock rifles.
It's like the Jewish story, the 6 Day War.
And the last one was Mussolini, Yamach Shemo, his attempt to try to reclaim the glory of Rome. And you know what happened to him? He and his wife were both brutally executed, and they were hung up in the square because of what they did. And I'm gonna tell you why I think that happened that way. Because of the fact that you have, the Shevatim are over there. Mm-hmm. And when you assault Ethiopia, you're also assaulting Klal Israel. Yeah. And it's a wrap for you after that. And there's this, first of all of this is caught on film. Like the whole, like, propagandized thing. And there's this film, it's called The Lion of Judah. It's on YouTube. And it shows you, it's black and white footage of, like, it happening in real time. And there's this really, like, romantic scene of the Italians marrying the state for the war effort, because they all gathered in the forum, and there's this big cauldron, and all of the women took off their wedding rings of gold and threw them in this cauldron so that they could all melt it down. And the state, make a calf, right? Right, making the idol. And what was that
Their
idol?
women participated. Luckily, Am Yisrael, our women didn't want any
Right.
part of that kind of stuff.
Their idol, of course, was what? Was glory, right? So what the state did was the state replaced their rings with rings of iron, and the promise that Rome and Italia will be restored to its like former place of victory. That's what happens when you get haughty. You're on the balcony, doing the whole thing. Next thing you know, you're getting strung up trying to figure out what just happened.
Or you walk like this.
Or you walk, or you walking like this through the arena, and then you get mangled. And while you're getting mangled, he's talking to you like I told you I'd kill you. And I was like, oh, like let it happen. I mean, I don't wish death on anybody, but I'm like, you guys are in the arena.
They still have judges.
and you're talking.
Oh no, they're not just referees.
Right, and you're talking mad reckless.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah, you don't mess with a religious person.
You don't mess. I don't mess with anybody. Somebody asked me the other day. They said, "What do you do? What did you?"
I say specifically a religious person because like they've God on their side.
Exactly.
And that's dangerous.
And they said, somebody said to me the other day. They said, "What did you do today to bring Mashiach?" I said, "I minded my own business." Straight up, I said, "I minded my own business."
That's a big thing.
I said, "Right," because it's so hard for us to do that,
Yeah.
Like, and I said, "Bro, I just minded my own business."
It's a good.
So Chassids, what you said the other day, like you when we were walking, you're like, yeah, it's one of the hardest mitzvahs is to not look into someone's window. You walk by, you see an open window or a door, like it's halakha to not look.
Yeah,
inside it.
Shmirat Einam is such a big thing. I was telling him like, not to look at women is okay, you can do this, but looking into someone's home, wow, you see like an open home and the window, like it's so hard not to look. It's one of the hardest things.
It's so difficult.
Welcome to the pod.
All right.
Azul Chaim. I
Chaim,
poured
Chaim.
yours. I'm making sure.
Chaim, Chodesh Tov. Chodesh Tov. Chodesh
Oh yeah, it's
Geula.
Chodesh. Oh,
Chodesh
Chodesh Nisan.
Hold it, 1 day or 2 days?
One day.
Okay.
It was, yeah.
But we're just carrying over the.
Yeah,
we're just carrying over the fun.
All of right. When Adar starts, Marbim b'Simcha, we start to increase the amount of Simcha we have, and then we hit Nisan, and the whole entire month of Nisan is considered Yamei Simcha. We don't say Tachanun at all. We don't do any confessions of sins that we've done.
I was
none of
actually
that
wondering because okay, Nisan is coming, Adar is finishing, the most happiest month of the year. Like this is gonna be such a downer, but then I realized, we're not saying Tachanun.
Right, it's not a downer.
Adar's
No.
It's
not a downer. But like
month,
it is the happiest
it's
month.
not.
Like Marbim
It's not.
b'Simcha.
No, you start to increase your Simcha, but it's
No.
not the happiest month. When you
So what's the
call it
happiest month?
Nisan.
Okay.
The whole entire month, or Tishrei even.
Okay.
Why? Because the whole entire month.
But Tishrei,
Yeah.
you like fasting?
Why fasting? You have Rosh Hashanah, 1 day of fasting, 2 days of fasting, and Gedalia and Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur is one of the happiest days for Am Yisrael. And the
That's
whole
true,
entire
that's
calendar.
true.
And then you have Sukkot, and the whole entire month you don't do Tachanun, except for the beginning part. And the same thing now. We don't have Tachanun right now.
But Yom
we're in a
Kippur is
period
the
of
holiest
13
day
days.
of the
It's the
of the
holiest,
year,
but it's the
and it's the
happiest.
whole build up to that. It's like
It's the
for me, it's
happiest.
the happiest at least
Why
personally.
do I say Nisan is the happiest month? And the
Okay.
rabbis say the whole entire month is Yemei Simcha, because right now we have Rosh Chodesh, right? We had Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is obviously a holiday. The first month, the first mitzvah we got in the whole entire Torah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have 12 days, 13 days, 12 days that every single tribe leader would bring a dedication to the Mishkan.
including me.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I've been done.
Nachshon was the first day. Nachshon ben Aminadav, he's the first one to win in the sea. So every day, 12 leaders of their tribes bring a dedication to the Mishkan. And on the 13th day, it's a collective holiday of all of them together. The day after that, we start to burn our chametz. The day after that is Pesach for 7 days. Then we have the splitting of the sea.
I
then
think-
we have Isur Chag.
listen.
Wait 1 second. And then we go, after that, they say, right, because we were taken out, we had Geula in Nisan. In the future, we're also going to have Geula. The Mashiach comes, it's also going to be in Nisan. So that, because you can't have a dedication of the temple during the days of Pesach, so then you have to have with the days that are left over after that, and then it's going to be another dedication of the temple, is Yemei Simcha. So the whole entire month is taken up with holidays that are festive, and you don't say Tachanun at all. It's Yemei Simcha. It's Adar is the last month of the year. That's why you Marbim b'Simcha. The Jew always, when we go to the bottom, that's when we start to work.
It's really-
So when you get to the end of the year, right, where the last month of the year, that's when the rabbis say, now start to increase in Simcha. When everything's dark and you have a holiday where Hashem's not even mentioned at all. you're the end of the year. You're so far away from Nisan, from the beginning of the year. Now start to be happy.
Listen, it's a good point, and it's also Sudat Mashiach at the end of Pesach. And
Five
Pesach is
cups.
when we were the Exodus and everything, but still, you don't have to clean all these books before Pesach.
It's a mitzvah.
Baruch Hashem, it's a mitzvah.
It's a mitzvah. You have to. If you don't do mitzvot with simcha, then what are you doing?
Wait, you clean all your books too?
I open them and put them back in the thing.
You go like...
Yeah, I open the book.
I thought it was just Chabad.
Give you a blow dryer.
Am Yisrael has the same halachot, achi. Halacha is halacha across all of Am Yisrael.
Okay, so you don't peel tomatoes. Fine.
That's minhag. That's minhag.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
That's
Smooth,
yeah.
bold,
Nissim, again, man.
Spicy.
Thank you. Hava. And Golani. We gotta go to Golani, man. We have to do.
Oh, man,
gotta go
listen,
Golani.
it's getting
Field
very
trip.
low. We need to get
Field trip.
there soon.
Field trip.
All right.
Tiul.
Are you coming with us?
I can make time.
If it's for Hava, we can make
taste
that.
I mean,
They have arak. I had a golden arak. We had golden arak.
stop it.
Wow, that stuff was amazing. It's arak that is put into whiskey barrels.
Somebody just handed me some arak today. There's this guy just walking around here.
Random on the street?
Yeah.
You should have came on Shabbat. You would
What?
have got arak from the hand of Abu Chatzira.
He was like,
This
"Arak."
never happens to me.
He's
I
like,
live
"Arak?"
here.
He's like, arak. I said, yes.
I'm also not surprised.
Yes,
Machia.
yeah, of course.
Wow, wow. Where's Derek?
I
In the
drank it. It's gone.
That's smart. That's
No,
smart.
like he
That's
like
smart.
like straight up, he just like had a shot in a cup. He was like, "That was it." I said,
Chaim.
"I gotta tell you, this is my first time in Sfat in 6 years."
Wow.
And yesterday, when I was at Suda Dawit Hamelek, I met somebody, and he said, "I remember you." He said, "I remember you." He said, 6 years ago, you asked me for directions.
What?
He said, you used to have like long rastot. Yeah, I said, yeah. He
That's
was like,
crazy.
Yeah, he's like, you asked me for directions. And this other guy was like, hey, I remember you too. He was like, I met you 6 years ago when you were in Sfat, and then I would see you occasionally in Jerusalem. How you been, bro? And I was like, wow. I was like, you guys' memory is
Sharpened.
sharp. I'm like, it's amazing.
It's like a Mara brain.
And I gotta tell you, this whole time here has been a vacation for me, like straight up, because the way that you guys conduct yourselves here is not like in Yerushalayim.
Not like anywhere in the world.
Bro, it's not like anywhere in the world. And also, like, I felt like it was Hag on Shabbat.
Don't you feel right at home here?
To be completely honest, no, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. But because I feel more.
You two agree on that.
I actually feel more connected to the Eretz in Hebron or in Midbar Yehuda, because the struggle was there, and in Midbar Yehuda, if I'm not mistaken, that's where the Malchut started, because that's where Dawid Hamelech, the Malchut for Dawid Hamelech, because that's where he was the king of Shevet Yehuda before he was the king of all of us, he was the king of all the tribes. And I was like, that it took a while for that to happen.
Yeah.
Of course, the anointing of the Malchut was always on him, but like physically,
For all of them to accept him, it took a
exactly,
few years,
and
7
even,
years maybe.
and
no?
even I'm not sure, and even in that time, it was a gradual process, but it started in the desert, and
There
then
was struggle here though.
and it made it. I'm
More recent struggle too.
I'm not really hip.
So you relate to the struggle.
48, 90, in 48 there was a big war. Like Tzfat was a big front. That's why you have all the buildings with the bullet holes on them.
Yes.
Rehov Yerushalayim. And then also in the 90s, the Arabs tried to test who makes the best egg on Chamin in Shabbat.
I mean,
and they found out really quick whose beitzim are bigger.
Well,
And they all ran away because the Jews said, nope, not on our turf.
I mean, if you want to talk reckless,
So wait, you feel like you relate to that struggle?
oh, for sure.
Is okay. Why is that? Is there a specific story?
Brother, I don't know. And if I had made up a reason, I'd be lying to you.
Actually, it makes me think of something I want to ask you though. Like,
Please feel free.
like he was talking about, like you guys made Aliyah together.
No,
No.
you just made Aliyah.
Just made Aliyah.
Well, technically we did
So
do
what?
it together.
So
somehow.
I understood it incorrectly
No, he
then.
was-
His Aliyah I was a part of.
He was
somehow.
he's an intricate
Okay.
part. He's an intricate part of my sugya,
Uh-huh.
because I was back and forth due to bureaucracy, and also unfortunately my father passed away, And I made the mistake of leaving the land of Israel to go and to like be like, you know, the still the good son, because I thought that it would be a Chilul Hashem if I didn't go. Because they'd be like, oh, so, you know, he's a Jew, he's too good to, like, you know, bury his father, and also, like, I'm a baby. I'm only 3 years old, so there's still a lot of stuff that I need to learn. So I'm not in a position to teach. I'm only in a position to learn and to listen. And in the event that I think that I have something that I know, I check, double check, triple check, wait, ask permission, then I give it over.
I like that. So the tamimus.
So, what I read wrong was it says in the, what is it? It's the Midrash Rabbah. It talks about Avraham Avinu, and it said that he buried his father. And I said, okay, so if he buried his father, I should go and bury my father. But see, here's the thing. It was when he was not a Jew when he buried his father. Also, I learned that he also buried Chava because she was being flung from all the different corners of the universe.
Oh, wow.
And he got her body and he took it into the kever. And so I'm just like, yeah, I need to go and you know, do that. But yeah, so
Chava wasn't technically Jewish, was she?
That's a whole
There's no Jewish, no, but she's whatever. It's a mother. It's
right. So
Jewish, no. Jewish is from Yaakov. Even it's not even from Avram. But
and now I wonder just like about the reason I'm asking that is because if you don't get buried, that's the thing. You're like stuck in some type of limbo. Your body.
I was taught.
That's for everyone. That's my question. So
I was
that's for
taught
everyone.
by Rabbi Mizrahi that if you're a Rasha, then that's what happens to you when you die. That you're flung all across you like a slingshot. So I was like, Chava's a Rasha? I'm like, I'm still trying. Like I said, I'm a baby, so I'm still trying to like unpack and understand. But you had a question.
I had a question.
Yeah, you had a question.
Oh yeah, Aliyah. So when did you do Aliyah, basically?
Officially on the 10th of Adar.
Wow, just now.
Here recently.
Wow. Welcome home.
However, as far as I'm concerned,
you've been here.
Nobody makes Aliyah. Nobody even stops here on a layover unless you have divine permission. So the minute my feet touched soil, I was like, I'm home, baby. I'm home. So
I know that feeling, man.
Yeah.
I used to come here when I was like really young, like 4 or 5. And I remember like on the highway on the way to the airport, and I was like, I know I'm leaving. At least that's what I understand.
Exactly.
And I was like, I have this anxiety. I still feel it's so traumatic.
True.
Like this is our home. You feel it in your
exactly.
kishkas, how you like to say.
Right.
Wow.
So yeah, so right, no, not at all. So, and also because I am a ger, and also because the business of religion, unfortunately, is also a business. So there's people who you do business with, there's people who you don't do business with. But some of us don't know that. Everybody I did business with was straight and square. Fair dealing, honest.
That's a miracle.
Fair dealing, honest, and al-pi halacha, not social pressure.
This was in Detroit?
No, this was in New York, actually.
Okay.
And
because it's actually easier to do Aliyah you did Aliyah when you were there.
I did. Man,
that's good.
And everybody's like, well, technically, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, what's going on? I had 2 different files that were opened. They were like, oh, well, you tried to make Aliyah 2015. I'm like, I wasn't even Jewish in 2015, so what are you talking about? So, what was I saying? Talking about Aliyah. Okay, yeah. So I'm in America, and I don't say stuck because a Jew is never stuck, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
There's a Rebbe story about that.
But I didn't even know. So, So I'm talking to Elio because we know each other, and he's like, what's the deal? And I'm like, yeah, man, it's that and the third. Bop, bop, whoop, whoop. And the issue is my proof of Judaism because, of course, bureaucracy. He's like, oh, I know people. Wop, wop, whoop. So next thing I know, I get a piece of paper that allows me to get on a plane. Then I go and ask for permission to travel during Corona. They said, wait for 7 days and they will let you know. 7 days was actually a full calendar month.
It's a good accent.
And I tried to speak English to you because you speak English like poem. That's what they tell me when I try to speak it. No, don't
Like
speak
a poem?
Don't speak Hebrew. You speak English like poem. I want to speak English. I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah. So the 7 days was actually a full calendar month, and it turned into a lot of me coming up there and roaring and stomping, like, do your job.
Went to the embassy?
Bro.
You have to do that.
Bro, they would stop me at the door because they knew. And also it's the whole thing of security doing the job of people who work there.
I feel like that's the ultimate galus, almost like just the bureaucracy of this state.
I just kept saying, do your job, do your job. I've done my job, you do your job. And I finally got back. And it was so beautiful because when I came back, I went to go and see them, the Beth Din. I was in there for 5 minutes.
Told you.
I was in there for 5 minutes. Hi, how are you? What's your name? Where are you from? Who did you do your conversion through? And then there was a point where he stopped and they said something to each other in Lashon Kodesh. And then he says to me, the rabbi wanted me to tell you that he can tell that you're a good man and that he sincerely hopes that you have a wonderful life in the beautiful family land of Israel.
Wow.
So I leave out, but I forgot my passport. So I went back in to get my passport, and they gave me 2 pieces of paper. And I said, Kavod Rav, I don't know what this says because my Hebrew's not so good. I said, what is it? He says, this says that you are a Jew.
Wow.
And you need to immediately go to Misad HaPanim, and they will give you your citizenship. And I mean,
I got chills.
And I had to wait on, again, bureaucracy. Never been arrested before, but I had to do the fingerprint thing. And they were like, that took 10 weeks. And somebody called me months later, like a month and some change later. My buddy, Shali Kestacher, who is the head of the British Embassy in Jerusalem.
The British Embassy.
The British Embassy, right? I tell people I'm the.
Those who understand will understand.
Right. If you're hip, you're hip. If you know, you know. Because I tell people I'm the official Devarger of the British Embassy. They're like, oh, you give Devars at the British Embassy in Israel? I'm like, yeah, I do.
Although I think I hold the record for the most silence during a Dvar Torah.
Oh, for
and
sure.
it's because you actually we went there together, remember?
Yeah, we did.
From Rabbi Deutsch? We went?
Yeah,
we go from the old city or
we
something?
we left from somewhere. And
we left from somewhere and we're like, yo, come with me. I need to give a Dvar Torah. And then you gave it it was Ali's birthday. And then Ali was like, everyone quiet, Elio's talking. and then afterwards, Ali came up to me, she's like, Elio, that was the quietest anyone has ever been here for a Dvar Torah.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Wait, what's happening?
So you have to explain because I was
Right.
here.
So
And
yeah,
everyone
you
else.
know the development of the British embassy.
Right. So I just tell people I'm the Devarger of the British Embassy, and they're like, oh, give me just a little bit of kavod.
You were did what?
What is the British embassy? Go ahead.
The British Embassy is a house in Nachlaot where they just full chesed, they host people, and it's called the British Embassy. And it's funny because for their Wi-Fi, they're the British Embassy. So when they call Bezek to get it fixed, they honestly think that it's the British Embassy and it gets handled lickety-split. And for the years I had been coming there, I give the Vator. So I tell people I'm the Devarger of the British Embassy. So what happened was everything bureaucratically cleared up, and I got my Tuzat Zut.
I would give a shout out to the rabbi that helped this all happen, but let's leave it unmentioned.
Who shall remain nameless, but in extremely high regard.
How so?
Thank you so much.
Why nameless?
Because we used protection to get Ariel in there in 5 minutes, like you said, to get in and get out. It wasn't an easy thing, and it was a lot of bending corners.
It's amazing. You didn't even need your passport.
No.
Me bugging. He's one of my rabbis, and
me and my wife have been here for so long, like 2-3 years almost, and she still has not been able to do Aliyah.
It's my choice. If you want it, it happens. Lena, look, proof right now. It's
Somebody
don't my choice. We really want to.
They just told me that it was in the Zohar.
But maybe you're right.
But I forgot exactly in the Zohar where it is. But they said the will of there's no obstacle that can withstand the will of a person.
Yeah, Rabbi Nachman is one of the most important teachings of all of Breslev, that the ratzon of a person, there's nothing that can stand in front of it. Yeah, it's taken from the Zohar. That's what I'm saying. Like, yes, you've been trying, but if you were to drop everything and say, I'm doing this until I make Aliyah, it would be done.
Probably.
It would be done.
The thing is, like, me and my wife are probably not on the same page on this because she's like, she wants to do Aliyah. And I'm like, I also want her to do Aliyah, but I'm more like, at the same time, I'm like, listen, we're Jews. Aliyah is for the state.
Yeah,
I don't feel like fully committed to it, 100%.
You don't have to be committed.
And that's problem. Maybe that's the
get
problem.
Get the benefits.
Yeah, get the benefits is always sure. But she still has healthcare. She still has things. But at the same time, now we have a problem with a child.
And
also,
I honestly do believe that
it's
the benefit,
complicated.
the benefit is not the money. It's the fact that I'm being enabled by the government to be a contributor to the state of Israel, whether or not a person may believe in the politics or the conduct therein. It's the fact that you're being given the honor and the responsibility to live here and to be a functioning, contributing member of society.
Yeah, and B'ezrat Hashem, Mashiach will come, and we won't have to deal with a secular state anymore.
Amen.
But until then, this is what's here.
We're just gonna have to make do.
Yeah. I feel this is really like one of our main tikkunim. Just dealing with the bureaucracy of the state is the biggest headache, and may just be the biggest headache and nothing else.
Right.
Like you said it earlier, and like I totally agree. Like it may just be this.
Every governmental institution I've been to, I just act like I work there, and I get exactly what I need. I put my files in my hand.
We gotta get some coaching with you.
I put my files in my hand. And see, here's the thing: what you want to do is you want to get good with somebody to where they know you on first name basis and that they remember your face.
That's how it is in base in the army.
Because then you could just be like,
whoever runs the kitchen, become his boy.
Ah.
It's late night.
Yeah.
He's
You wanna get
schnitzel,
some
real
food,
schnitzel,
yeah,
not corn schnitzel, real schnitzel.
Mr. Fine, we remember you. Please come.
Fine.
It's funny. My last name is Payne. Pay you Yud Nun. But here,
It's fine.
call him Mr. Fine. I'm like,
Wow. Fine is very Ashkenazi.
Okay, I eat gefilte fish from time to time. I'll accept.
Do you really?
From time to time.
right,
time
the
to time.
Aliyah
From
Avo.
time to time.
And do you enjoy it? That's a real question.
There's only one.
It's not
That's
an
the
adjective.
question.
It's not an adjective you can attach to gefilte fish.
There's only one.
You say that because you're Sephardi, okay?
There's only one gefilte fish that like has my heart, and it is the gefilte fish of Devorah Pinson of Detroit Chabad.
Is she related to Rav Pinson? Rav Dober? Like Zusha's Rebbe?
I'm not sure. Like, I don't know the whole like shebang as far as like connections concerned. I just know that Devorah Pinson and her gefilte fish is like next level, and like that's it for me.
Shout out to the Chabad Shlichim in Detroit cooking good gefilte fish.
What's the secret recipe?
I don't know, and I'm pretty sure if I asked her, she wouldn't tell me.
Shabbat.
And you know what? I don't want to know because it's good.
It's very
And
big.
I just
It means
accept
a
it.
lot, you
And I
know?
just accept it. I accept the goodness when it comes.
It's very big.
I don't ask too
because-
many questions if it's good. If it's coming from like a holy source, then you know, like I'm like, it is what it is.
I'm just surprised because I learned that you are from Yemenite. You took on the Yemenite traditions, no?
Oh, brother, I like my my laning loud with tarjum, my food spicy, and my enemy's dead.
Yemenite, but he says laning. Baruch Hashem.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm
Mix it up.
actually trying to find a teacher now to teach me how to, because I haven't read from the Torah yet. I mean, they call me up for Aliyah, but I haven't read from the Torah yet. So I'm trying to find somebody who can teach me the proper pronunciation.
Yemenite way.
Rosh Hashanah.
And-
Just go to Rosh Hashanah. Learn how to be a mol there and how to read the Torah. All in one city.
Bro.
Oh, you're
With the
learning
Chumash
right.
upside down.
Tell listeners this. You're doing this.
So B'ezrat Hashem, has the Hashem of God will allow.
Im Yirtzeh Hashem, a.k.a. Ariel Yaniv Ha'or. You got this.
It's in your name. It's amazing.
After Pesach, I am gonna start training to become a moel.
B'ezrat Hashem.
B'ezrat Hashem.
May you be
Has the Hashem.
Matzliach.
Amen.
With the bracha
Amen.
of Rosh Chodesh. B'ezrat
Amen.
Hashem.
Amen.
Bracha of
Amen.
Rabbi Nachman.
Because
It's crazy.
thankfully I got circumcised as a baby.
Really?
And, yeah,
Wow.
I did. And
Were your parents Muslim?
no, my parents are Christian.
In America, it's common though.
Right? It's
Really?
common because they
I
actually
Healthy.
heard something.
they ask you what do you want? Do you want the baby circumcised or uncircumcised?
Right when it's born?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even think they wait 8 days.
Yeah. No, they don't. They don't.
Right away.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Wow.
Like fresh.
So you're in a hospital, so they can just do it.
It's
They
so
take
interesting. They just assumed it's healthy, and now it's like
they
the
didn't assume,
norm.
they know.
No,
No,
they know.
they assume it's healthy. Well, how do they know? Well, research, okay, but like it's in the Torah.
I know how they know. Us. That's how they know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
As the kids say, they're jocking our steez.
Yeah,
They're
really.
jocking our steez.
And that's
bro.
what's mind blowing to me that they now it's like a
In America,
protocol,
the
basically.
majority of kids in America
Wow.
are circumcised.
So they say
It's very interesting.
So they say circumcise him. So I got circumcised.
Yeah.
And I came into this culture, and I know the importance of shomet abrit, and I know the importance of that part of my body. So to be able to give kavod to the fact that I was given divine permission to be amongst you all, I have the option of or not the option, but I have the obligation of starting these kids off right. And it's somebody who chose it who's doing it for you. And I think I know that speaks volumes. I know it does.
For sure.
And it's like, it's my, because there's this song that we used to sing back in the day. And I'm not going to sing it because my singing is like horrible. But it says, for all you've done for me, the least I can do is take time out to thank you for all you've done for me. And I'm like, this is the best way I can do it. The best way. Like, it's tops for me.
It's a dream for me too, to be able to, if I had to pick one of them, it would be safrut. It would be like scribe writing, sofer stam. But like, I have a dream, or another holy profession is kricha, of like making like the books, like they wrap the books to make sure that they don't break. One of those two I want to get to. Sofer stam is way harder.
My brother is a sofer.
And yeah, that's amazing.
And he showed me Shir Shirim that he just recently finished. Flawless. I said, bro, how long you been doing this? He's like, I did it for a year. And he's my brother because we both went to the mikveh on the same day. And now we both live here and study here and like work here. I don't think so. His name is Dawid. He lives in the old city, and he studies at the Sephardic.
It just moved.
What's the big?
Sephardic Midrash Sfaradi.
The one that when you coming back from the kotel, when you walk up the.
Yosef.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Or
one.
Rav Ovadia was.
Ovadias, yeah.
His work is beautiful. It's beautiful. It's mind blowing.
What's his work?
And it's a sofer.
Oh, okay.
And I'm gonna tell you what, that awoke inside of me a righteous like jealousy. I was like, if we're from the same house, so to speak, and this is my brother, and this is what he's doing, step your game up, champion. What do you need to do? How are you wasting your time if this is what your brother's
You're
doing?
okay with it, like with the blood and everything?
I mean, listen, it is what it is.
Mitzitza.
It is what it is. I'm fine. I'm fine with
There's
it.
a lot of people that don't want the mitzitza, don't want all that stuff. What's your opinion on that?
I don't know. I think everybody's a different breed. Like, some people are meant to do it. If you're meant to do it, you're meant to do it. It's a very holy thing. And like, I think the holiest things on the surface sound maybe like, whoa, intense. But I think at the same time, they're also the holiest things. And like, some people are just cut out to do it because other people can't.
They're cut out to do it.
Nice.
Nice.
Didn't even think about that.
Nice.
Mila.
Yeah. Welcome to the pod.
That was right before the cha-cha slide. One hop this time.
Charlie Brown. Love it.
My wife and I had to listen to that the other day. The music videos are so bechlet. You're not allowed to watch the music video, but the music is not that bad.
All right, so we're back from the break. Yeah, we're talking about your journey, about like basically about you becoming a mohel.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking about that, I want to talk about how did you find Hashem?
Well, he's always been present. But the conduit of his presence changed as I matured. I remember when I was a kid, I used to I knew that everything could talk. I used to thank the carpet for walking on it. And I just learned here recently that like when Mashiach comes, that everything is going to like reanimate again. And I used to say all the time, I was like, oh, bro, the trees, they talk, but we just can't hear them because like we don't know the language anymore because there's something that happened to us. And actually the house that I grew up in had mezuzot on the doors.
You just knew this.
I just knew it. And my dad was like, I remember what I was saying earlier when I went on the dad tangent. So my dad was like, oh yeah, we bought the house from this Jewish family because we had the mezuzot, we had 2 stoves, we had 2, it was dual. And one was for Pesach, the other one was for like however they kept. So, but you asked me about Ariel, about the names.
Yeah.
My father was an elected official, so we would go and do our thing. One day we're driving, me and my mother, and we found a Hindu temple. And I recognized it before she did. So we went there, we went inside, they showed us.
In Detroit?
In Pontiac. So they showed us around, and like they're like Kohen Gadol like came out to like meet us. Lahavdil. Mamash lahavdil. Mamash.
Very different.
So their guy, came out to meet us, and they invited us back to get readings of our past lives, right? So of course they have different tools that produce different answers. And
The guru.
he told me, he was like, he looked at me and he was like scrunched his face up. He said something in Hindi to his daughter, and then she said to me, and she said, "You have a lion in your eyes." And my father, he sees it. So in conjunction with that,
Wow.
but making it kosher, Ariel. And here's what was so dope about that whole situation. When we finished with everything, they gave us as a gift one of the garbs from one of the idols. And they said, everybody in the home is allowed to handle it except for him. He can't touch it.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Because they knew that I knew that it was tameh.
Not
That it was-
kosher
that it
for
was
you.
avodah zarah. They
Wow.
knew. They knew that.
And this was before?
This is before the conversion. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
and actually,
crazy.
He told me that I was going to die, but that my life would be spared.
Wow.
And
And it's like a
it happened.
and conversion is like a reborn.
No. It actually happened.
What-
It actually happened.
Like besides the mikveh.
Besides the mikveh.
Besides the reborn of the mikveh.
It was the American holiday that they
Wow.
celebrate called Thanksgiving. And it was when I was doing things I had no business doing. And I had the ownership of a van. So we're going around doing stuff. I'm out here hot dogging, doing 90 where it says do 25. And I'd smash into two different walls. And the car, everybody who passed the van was looking for a body. And I was like, no, I'm fine. They're like, no, bro, you're in shock. Da, da, da. I'm like, no, I'm good. And my life was spared from that accident that should have, like, just, bro, the car literally broke in half. It was totaled.
Wait, what happened exactly? Like
I hydroplaned and I lost control of the car, and it slammed into two different walls. It slammed into a wall twice, like bump, bump.
wow.
And
Hard.
very
95.
hard, very hard. Some of the gentlemen that I was with had outstanding warrants, so they fled the scene. They were like, "We'll see you back at the house." I said, "I understand, no problem. Do your thing." And
You were the only one in the van?
I was no,
It was
there was other people.
and they left. They ran away. They were
Before the accident.
No.
The car crashed with people in the car.
And they're all fine?
They wanted, the police were after them, so they left. And he was clean.
Because they're gonna ask everybody's ID, and then they find out, oh, you got priors, clink clink, and they lock you up and they take you away, even if you're in an accident. Doesn't matter.
That's very interesting.
That's the justice system, American justice system. How about it?
Even though you're not driving.
No, if you're wanted by the police, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If the police find you, they arrest you.
They have to bring you in.
So
Oh,
they got
these
in an
people
accident.
were-
The people were wanted by the police.
Okay.
Right.
So they ran away before the police
I didn't
showed
know
up.
that. Okay.
So in the course of all this going on, I was really ashamed and sad because the van was loaned to me by a dear, sweet friend of mine. And I called him immediately after it happened. He said, I'm a little upset, that you weren't responsible with something that doesn't belong to you, but I'm glad that you're alive, and we'll handle it when I come back home. So I go back to our pad, and one of my friends pulled me to the side and he said, the reason I didn't leave with you when you invited me was because I had a dream last night that you killed me in a car crash. And I could literally feel my body going through the windshield. And I was like, why didn't you say? Because it was supposed to happen. So there was no point in me like scaring you. So I didn't say nothing. I just kept my mouth shut.
Whoa.
Then there's the issue of the car. And I owe this guy, bro, I broke your car. Like, I clearly owe you some money. He was going to take the van and sell it for $7,000 when he drove back to California. But because of universal insurance and because I was the person driving the car, the insurance company gave him $12,000 because I crashed it. God
He made money.
bless America.
That's crazy.
And that was enough to put a keep on?
You know what that reminds me of, by the way? The accident.
Oh, Lord.
That's his,
Things happen. But, I mean, God has always been present. I've always recognized him. and I was just trying to like make it happen. So the person who raised my grandfather was physical property of another person. He was a slave. Physical property of another person. So we got our last name and our religion from the person who was our owner. And I had a very in-depth conversation with my dad as a kid, and I was like, so do you believe the stuff it tells in church? And he was like, well, nobody's really like come back from the other side and tell us that it's true. And, I don't know. And, I thank God I was a very bright and intelligent child. And I was like, so if you're my father and I know your father and I know my mother's mother and father, who's God's father? And they're like, God doesn't have father, he just is. I'm like, so how can he have a son if he doesn't have a penis? I said, it doesn't make any sense. I was like, somebody explain this to me. Because God doesn't have a body. He can't make a baby with a lady. So what's the deal?
Who's a virgin?
Right, who's a virgin? And on top of that, you mean to tell me out of all the billions of people on the planet, God just hits on married women? Hey, baby, couldn't help but notice that you're married. You want to take a walk?
That your husband left to work.
Right, you want to take a walk on the wild side?
Your fiance.
Right, and it's all like Grecian like rhetoric, and like just like the stories of like
half
Grecian,
man, half god.
Right, demi. Perfect example. Pegasus. Pega, body, Zeus, horse, Pegasus. Everybody's jocking our steeds. You guys remember that phrase? Remember that phrase at home, jocking our steeds.
Oh, I know that
right.
one. I remember that.
Right. So it's just like, I don't get it. And
that was
then
a good song, man. Before, I can't listen to Jay-Z at all, but that was a really fire track fucking thing. Right. Anyway, back to...
Yeah, so there's that process. And also where I was, I'm in Michigan. Michigan has, Detroit is next to a city called Dearborn. Dearborn has the highest concentration of Mohammedans outside of Saudi Arabia.
Of what?
Of Mohammedans. Muslims.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I've never heard that term
outside of now you have.
Christian, believe in Christ. Muhammadans.
Right.
Believe in Muhammad.
Right. So
I thought maybe like a sect.
He's like, is this new? What is this? Right. I don't get it. Right. So with that, and also with the fact that I'm young, I'm black, I'm working at the Museum of African American History, and people see this young black brother, they want to like mold me. Detroit is also home to the Nation of Islam because it has two strongholds, Detroit and Chicago. Also, Malcolm X did a lot of his dart, but also a lot of his, I don't know for him if you call it tshuva, but in Michigan, he served the majority of his prison stint in Jackson State Penitentiary, which was like one of the largest prisons in the United States. So when he comes out and he's like righteous, what does he do? He tries to repair what he helped damage. So there was Mosque Number 1 on Elijah Muhammad Boulevard, and everybody's like, oh, we got a prospect. And I'm young and super impressionable. So I get real militant real quick. And I'm like diving into different things, noticing that things are amiss. And I'm like, I'm permitted to do what?
In the name of God.
What? I'm like...
So it was a good thing you dove deep
Exactly.
into it. Because I was like words like, oh, he's... but then it was good.
And I was like, this doesn't... I'm not...
Not your style.
Not my style. So then I was like, all right, well, and also the name Moses always like struck a chord with me. And also every year we would go down to my aunt and uncle's house in North Carolina for Pesach, for Easter. And Ishtar and ABC would play the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner every year. That was my thing. Every year that was my thing. And I remember, I'm old, so I remember when they would only play one half one night and one half the second half, and then I remember when they would play the whole film one night.
It's like 10 hours, no? How long is it?
3 hours.
It's
3 hours and 46 minutes.
Roots also is really long.
Roots is super stupid long. It's super stupid long.
Roots
and then
is like a semester in high school.
And then I remember when they didn't play it because they were debuting a new episode of Desperate Housewives. I was extremely upset. I wrote ABC the nastiest letter you've ever seen in your life, bro. Ever.
And so I hope that's some bathroom breaks.
It just kept like it activated something in me. And because I was a gifted child, they made the biggest mistake that they make in the education systems. They removed those children from the neighborhoods where they live and they put them elsewhere. So where did they place me? In West Bloomfield. West Bloomfield was full of Jews because Detroit proper. As people say, oh, I got family in Detroit. I'm like, where? They're like, Oak Park. I'm like, that's not Detroit, bro. But I get you. Because what happened was there was civil unrest in Detroit. Riots broke out. And we thought that we were white folk. And so we were scared of all the darkies. So what did we do? We moved to the suburbs. Oh, things are nice here. Picket fences, green grass. We live next door to the Smiths. But the Smiths are like, what's your last name? Schwartzberg? Oh, you're one of those? You can't play with those kids.
Well, because it's the Jewish name.
Exactly. So I'm there and I'm just absorbing all of it. And I'm seeing what people are doing, what they aren't doing. And I start to ask a lot of questions. And I ended up moving to Detroit when I was 19 years old. And I actually was a member of the Isaac Agree downtown synagogue. And they used to be an Orthodox synagogue. But with the mass exodus of Jews to the suburbs, they became conservative. Oh, okay. And the street was so dope because you had the synagogue. We shared a wall with a speakeasy. Next to that was a parking garage, and there was a coffee house. And across from that was a strip club. So the joke is that you could spend your entire weekend on Griswold Street and be back for Shacharit and Taknoon to confess your sins. So I'm there, and I'm learning more and more and more. And then I came on Birthright, and then I was on Birthright. And then in Sfat, I was asking a lot of questions, and they pulled me to the side, the guys who were talking to us, and they had a serious conversation with me. And
they didn't like it?
No. They said, they're like, bro, what's your deal? And I'm like, oh, I did. And they said, we hate to break it to you, but you're not Jewish. But you can fix that. Oh. So I fixed it.
And those were the conservatives telling you this?
No, those were the people who were leading who were telling us about how a mikveh works and what it's for.
Those were the Orthodox people then.
Exactly. Because I'm just like going off and understanding stuff and asking questions. So they're like, there's something with this one here. Okay. So they pulled me to the side and they started talking to me. I was in a yeshiva, which was close to the Aryeh mikveh. And I remember we were sitting in the women's section because I remember how high up we were. And I had this conversation with this brother, and he told me, he's like, yeah, you're not Jewish, but you can fix that, it's done third. And now here I am talking to y'all.
Rocking the tcheles. You know what I realized? Huh? Oh, I'm not wearing the tcheles, but I've like, is it Arizal, right? Is it Arizal? No, it's Rambam, but Arizal, the way it's tied.
No, the way it's tied. These are Chuliot. This is the Rambam.
Well, it's very similar to what.
Yeah, so
what's the deal? Yeah, what's the deal with that?
I mean, I actually found this garment in the trash can because I used to live hand to mouth in this country, and I used to clean people's houses, and I would go all around and just like do whatever I need to like put money in my pocket, and it was wrapped in 2 different bags, and it was thrown in the trash, and it just like spoke to me, and I was like, okay, you're mine. So I took it home, washed it, and just started rocking it, and then when I like finally was like officiated, I knew what to do with it. And it already had like fringes on it. And I made some phone calls because my moreh, he actually sent me to a gentleman who lives in Mesharim who knows how to tie these, and he tied them. And it's mine, and it's been mine for a minute. And it's very rare that you won't see me with this garment on because I am a large component of what he's like my older brother. He's the Aluf Abir. And he says, we have to return to antiquity. That is the way of Rabbeinu. That is the way of our people. We have to return to antiquity. And we used to wear talit gadols all the time. So I rock mine all the time. Because if you go to like, I don't know, you go to China, they're going to be wearing fine silk. You go to, I don't know, Dubai, they're going to wear their thobe, you know? So when you come here, we should be dressed as what we are.
Beged Ivri.
And that's what I'm doing.
Zat Hashem, I'm in my heart. I'm just not there, but like in my heart, that's exactly how we should be dressed, and that's the only way. But we'll get there. Zat Hashem.
Baby
just
steps.
Like Avram Avinu.
Baby steps.
Yeah, not just Avram Avinu. It's from Avram until the Yemenites made Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael.
And he actually told me something very important, and I hope I don't butcher it because I got my notes right in front of me. He says that this is him. He's like, there's three things that we have. We're
talking about the Aluf Abir. Anyone who wants to look him up on YouTube, amazing person.
Please do.
He's done a lot of work from himself to take people out of the streets, to bring them back to tshuva, all through martial arts. He has a whole entire series of martial arts based on the Aleph Bet.
That is from Daud HaMelech. Yeah. It's not something that is made up. Wow. It's not something that's pulled and borrowed because everybody's like, oh, this looks like ba. That's because we're the source.
It was the Mishpachat Sofer, the Sofer family, that they were the guards of the Yemenite king. The Yemen had the first Jewish kingdom outside of Eretz Yisrael, outside of the land of Israel. In Yemen, there was a Jewish king, and the protectors of that king were this family, Mishpachat Sofer, and they have all of this tradition, this Masorah of martial arts, Jewish martial arts.
When you read the nighttime Shema, and it makes reference to the men that are guarding Shlomo HaMelech's couch, those are his people. Those are his relatives. Yeah. And I've been blessed enough to be able to learn directly from them.
Wow.
And so he says, you got three things. You got time, you got space, you got form. And he says that, what is it? That the time for us is going back to the beginning. How do we go back to the beginning? Leshan Kodesh, the Ivrim, time, our speech. The space is that we are Israel. So where are we? We're in the land of Israel. And the last one is the form. And what is the form in that space? It's the kingship of God. And accepting that kingship and being humble enough to accept that kingship and let that kingship shape your entire life. He said, you got those three things? Also, Rabbeinu, you're good.
It's like what I'm learning now with Rabbi Deutsch and the Maharal. The Maharal is all about Tzura versus Chomer. Being having the man, or anybody should ideally be, but you see it more brought down in masculine versus feminine. The masculine is the form, and the woman, or the feminine, is like the chomer, is like the material.
Okay.
Right. So it's like the water. Water has no shape. It takes the shape of whatever it's put into.
Yes.
So we need to be that kli, that it's a tzura, that we don't change, that we're always a tzura. We always are a form figure, and we don't get moved. We have our form. We don't get affected like the water, that it has to take the shape of wherever it goes. It's amazing.
And ironically enough, because he's Habani. And when you look at the pictures of the Habanim, they have very colorful talits. And somebody saw me in Beit Knesset, and they're like, "Ata Habani?" And I just, I said, "Ken." And they're like, "Oh, you're fair."
He's not in Yerushalayim anymore, right? He moved up to the north somewhere, no?
I'm not exactly sure.
I think he moved up.
And even if I was sure, I wouldn't tell y'all.
People assumed you're Chabad because of your scarf.
Habani.
Habani. I was like, that was
it's a place in Teiman.
Okay, that confused me.
Yeah. If I had a beard and a hat, they'd be like,
I could have bought you a suit today.
At first, I was like, is this regular water or Chabad water? But it's regular water, so we're okay. We're okay.
Oh,
so
that's what you think.
I heard you're working on a new project.
Yes, I am.
With feature film.
With God's help and with divine timing, it is called Teshuvah, and it's about Gerim. It's about converts, but specifically about African converts from the African diaspora.
It's really interesting that you say that. You say it's called Teshuvah, and it's about Gerim. And I always talk to converts, and they say, you don't understand me. I'm like, on a certain point, yes, there's a certain level of that I can't understand. But once you become a Jew, a Baal Tshuva and a Ger is the exact same thing. They're the exact same thing because they both have to go through the same process. You have to acclimate and try to fit into this society that you haven't been a part of, and reformat your brain.
You literally have to rewire your brain to realign yourself.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that because it's very interesting that the title.
I think it's also we both have previous lives.
Yeah.
And they feel entirely different.
Because in what little I know of Sod, there is a Gilgul who did something that was brought back to then corrected by then becoming a Jew. Because a lot of the times when people go through conversion process, their secular birthday, they just throw it out the window. And it was explained to me by Dr. Rabbi Pinchas of the Old City. He said,
Botzina Kedisha.
Botzina Kedisha. So he says to me, he said, you don't get rid of your birthday because that is the day that you started, and the day that you went to the mikveh is the day that you crossed the finish line. That is
So part
both
of the
of
journey.
them. He said he has this very like silky,
French African.
right, Afro like Frankish accent, and he's like, they're both for you.
It's like Rabbi Nachman says, today's his birthday, and he says that the day that a Jew is born, he says in his name
That
of the
means
Baal
that
Shem Tov,
the
that
day-
Hashem decided that the world cannot exist without
That
him.
we need you.
Yeah.
That the world needs you. So it's highlighting my story, and I'm the loom that's running, or the piece in the loom. I forgot what it's called, but it runs back and forth and feeds the thread. And every thread is how I met this person and that person and this person and that person, and it's a weapon. The piece is a weapon, because we are continuing, or we should be continuing,
When
what I
you're
call
talking about the piece.
the piece, the film. The film is the weapon. I don't have one on me. Is that what you thought I was? Right.
Yeah, no.
But he's like, you chabanim, I don't know. You know what I mean? Hey, bro, got my jambia is covered, bro. So, it's continuing on what I call the righteous rebellion, and that righteous rebellion started with Avraham Avinu, the rebellion of this is not good, it's not of God, and we're gonna fight it. We're gonna fight it. I remember I was in New York at one point in time for Parsha Lech Lecha, and I understood the entire Parsha just in my walk to the learning I was going to. I had passed one of those construction sites to where it has like the metal grate and those green like wood things that keep people from coming in. It was literally on fire, and every single person walked past it. Every single person walked past it, including myself. But then I was like, wait a second, that's a fire. And this is like, bro, it's a fire. And not even ratchet. I'm like, it was a fire. So I went back and I just looked at it, because I'm like, maybe it's an art piece. Maybe somebody's taking pictures of it. I don't know. But I just blew it out. And I was like, I understand now. Avraham was like, there's a impure fire that exists in this world, and it's burning, and everybody's passing it, and nobody's doing anything to just extinguish this flame. So, like it really brought it home for me. That little lesson, that little experience in New York was very humbling. I was actually not giving too much away, because you have to wait for the film. But I was in the shelter system in New York the entire time that I was there, the entire time. And you've never said a bracha in your life when you're starving and you find a wrapped Snickers bar on the ground, and then you look around to make sure that nobody sees you pick it up because you're embarrassed. And then you pick it up and you just thank God for it. And it's the best tasting Snickers you've ever had in your life, ever. So, it's just like little stuff like that teaches me. And I just keep it with me.
What's in the movie? Who else is in the movie?
There's
You said
me.
It's about meeting people.
There's me. There's this gentleman named David Moshe, who is
Is this all filmed in Israel?
Yeah, it's gonna be here in Israel, but we might travel a little bit. We'll see what happens. David Moshe, who is living here with his new son and his daughter and his wife, and he's going through things with the government and whatnot.
Who's David Moshe?
David Moshe, he's a gentleman from Baltimore.
Big story.
Right, big story. Gentleman from Baltimore, made some poor choices in life, paid his debt to society, and they just will not let him function. There's Zachariah, he's in it, also known as L'chaim OG. We have Rabbi Pinchas, who actually was a former Catholic priest who now runs a yeshiva. No. Not as a Catholic priest, but
real tzaddik.
That's a relief.
Right. Oh, right.
Wow, that's crazy.
There's Yaakov Lennon, affectionately known as Uncle Yaakov, who actually survived the American civil rights South in the Jim Crow era. And all of us are not just bound together by our choice, but that the fact that we live in Israel. And everybody's like, oh, it's also because you guys are black too, right? No. Ani lo lavan, ani lo sochor, ani ivri. Straight up. That's how it is. And also when it comes to the issue of identity or that frailness of identity, a lot of us think different things. But the one thing that we all know, Moshe Emet, Torah Emet. That's it. And it's just like telling a story. But there was actually recently a offer to re-engineer it to make it broader, because I was told there's a lot of heavy hitters that you're missing if you just keep the scope that narrow. So it's in development. People are excited. I hope you guys are excited. And
we got the little preview of the transcript a little bit.
There you go. And this is Bizrat Hashem gonna be a
You got Nissim Black in there also.
Yeah, he's featured. He's there. And I don't want to give too much away, but I'm psyched about continuing this what I call the righteous rebellion. I'm so psyched for it.
How did you? Because you also were featured in his clip.
Video.
How did you meet him?
Funny story. And again, I can't give too much away, but I was at a certain learning institution, and I was in like the pit, and I was holding my own, and somebody came in and just, how you have a conversation with somebody by looking at them, and you have a full conversation just by a glance, and it was like, do you need some help? Are you good? I was like, no, I got it. I'm good. And then I was told I need to go meet this person. Turns out this person was Yaakov Lennon, and he was the same person who had saw me in the Beit Midrash holding it down, and we just like laughed as soon as he opened the door. He was like, I was like, yeah. So him and Nissim have been long friends, and when I was in New York, one of the families who took me in as I was going through my hard time happened to be in his management team, and the rabbi of New York, my beloved Rav Asher Vachnin, BJCC Youth Minion, 3rd floor, the place to be. He told me, he says, Ariel, I think that you should contact Nissim Black, because he is very special. You are very special, and maybe he can help you in your process.
Welcome to the pod.
Okay, so Bizrat Hashem is going to be very good, and we're seeing how to go with it creatively now, because it's going to be high art. There's going to be just like a lot of stuff. It's not going to be just like, oh, this is my story, blah, 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 blah. No, bro, we're taking you there.
What's the point?
The point of the film?
Yeah, like what's the message you want to give across?
Anybody seeking righteousness can obtain it. Anybody. And it doesn't matter who you are. What matters is to whom you belong. And then you can make that discernment. Male, female, black, white, whatever. It doesn't matter. I tell people all the time, we're the only culture in the entire world that conducts themselves on two things: conduct and consciousness. What is our consciousness? The Shema. What is our conduct? Halacha. You get down with those two things, you're in the club.
Yeah,
it's true.
It's just that easy.
It's true. It doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter.
And you're not confused. You know where you're going. I feel if you look now at United States, America specifically, but the whole world really, like, they don't have that. They don't have those things you said, the halacha, the shema, the consciousness, the conduct, and they're totally confused. You see it all over the world. There's all this conflict, and you were talking about it earlier, right?
What?
About the conflicts now in the United States.
Yeah.
I was actually there for a majority.
Yeah, you were there in all of the mess that was going on.
When the mess was there, I was there. Wow. I saw it, and it was very troubling. But I wasn't worried at all, because like I know who I am and who I belong to, so I'm straight. It's just chaos everywhere. People saying, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that," blah 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 blah. Here's the crazy thing about it: when things like that happen, then people choose to interact with you because they're scared, and they think that because of your melanin content that you know the answers and you can speak the language. So they're like, how do you feel with like everything's going on right now? I'm like, first of all, I don't know who you are. Second of all, this is the first time that you have ever spoken to me since I've been in this institution. What makes you think that I can help you and help you ease your mind? I'll be very honest. You're scared. because you think that the natives are going to jump the wall and come to eat you alive, and that I could stop them because I look like them. You got the wrong person, lady. You got the wrong person. So it's just like, I'm like, ugh, get over it. And I was really like, it was rough for me because I was homesick. I was by myself. And I was just like, I was really low. I was denied the right to bury my father by my family. I had to,
Wow.
that
must have been rough.
They had the nerve, the unmitigated gall to bring me his pamphlet, like his obituary. I'm like, who are these bums that were his pallbearers? Aside from my uncles, I'm like, who are these bums? I don't know these bums. I'm like, didn't even read the eulogy that I wrote for him. That's how deep the hatred was. And I was like, God, I just need you to just hear me. I know that I've never had a prayer unanswered, ever in my life. And I was like, but now I really just need you to like answer me. So please, what's going on? So I went to the Tanakh and I just flipped it open. And this was the 25th of Nisan. I'll never forget this. B'ezrat Hashem for as long as I live. And I opened up Yirmiyahu, and it was the part in the Tanakh to where he was being lifted out of the hole. Who lifted him out of the hole? His name was, I forgot what his name was, but he was the Eved, servant. People think he was a slave. Only reason people think he was a slave is because of Renaissance art. That's why people think a lot of stuff about us, because of Renaissance art. But they referred to him as a Cushi, and he was like the right hand of the king. And Aluf Abir told me, he says, no, he wasn't a slave. He was a big guy. And God says to him, because you believe in me, and because you like are wholeheartedly like mine, and you understand me, I'm gonna destroy everything around you, and the booty that you'll be able to keep is your life. So I was like, everything around me appears that it's being destroyed. And God says, I understand that you belong to me, and I'm going to let you keep your life.
Wow.
So, and that's, I was like, thanks. It's like, it's clear as day.
It's the most important thing in Judaism is life, right? Even the Torah comes before the Torah. If you have to put, if it's your life or the Torah, there's very few exceptions, 3 exceptions, right? But life becomes of everything. You have to live by the Torah, not necessarily die by it, like there are certain things again
that you have to die by.
The Torah says you have to die
3
for them.
specific things.
Yeah, we're not allowed to do avodah zarah. We're not allowed to do any idol worship. We're not allowed to kill another person. Or
we're not allowed to get vaccinated. What?
What he said, and I agree. And you're not allowed to sleep with the person that you're not allowed to sleep with.
Exactly.
And those are the things you give your life
Those
for.
are the things you give your life. And the Rambam also says, though, all right, like Shat Hashmad, like when the Goyim are coming for the Jews and they're trying to make an example out of you in public, and they tell you tie your shoelaces the wrong way, not according to halakha, then you also have to die. That's
Right.
if they're trying to make an example for you. But besides those things, then we don't do that. And life is really important. And there's a lot of negativity. What would be your, again, I don't know if you can. I'm not afraid of being attacked. And I'm not trying to have you speak for everybody, but as a person of color, visible color, right? And a person,
And I know that you're saying this from the clearly like aesthetic,
100%.
nonsensical level.
For the people that are looking at the screen right now and they can
Hey,
see
it's
the
a black
difference
Jew,
between
right.
our skin.
Exactly.
What
Yeah,
is
yeah.
what is your message for maybe Black Americans or Africans that are looking to convert? And also, what is the message for all of the Black African Americans that live so close to the Jewish neighborhoods in New York, Miami, Detroit, LA, wherever it is? Historically, I know growing up in high school, I was way closer to the Black kids in my
Right.
school. Why? Because for me, the simple thing that I had in my head was, if anybody in the world can understand the Jewish story of the Tanakh, it's
these
the
people.
Black people that were brought to America from another country
As import.
Exactly.
I was brought to this country as furniture, right? As
As
import.
property, exactly.
As property.
And that's the whole entire story of Am Yisrael, is like we were taken down, right, into Egypt, and we were there put into chains and put into the most disgusting, horrible, like our babies being used as bricks,
Right.
the worst situation, and we got out of it. And I always just wished for my friends, like, guys, just tap into this story, tap into this, and you'll have tikva. So that was my message growing up for my friends around me. What would you say? One for the, I'm asking on two fronts. One for like the hope of inspiration of anyone trying to convert or trying to learn more about Judaism, trying to connect to God. And the other one for the people that live so close to these Jewish communities that maybe don't understand them. And if they would just understand what was going on a little bit, the whole entire dynamic of Brooklyn, for example, would be different, right?
I had something beautiful happen to me in Brooklyn.
That was the longest question in history.
I'm walking down the street going to my day meal, and this lady literally hangs herself out of the window.
Whoa.
This Jamaican lady hangs herself out the window. She says, "Baruch Hashem,
What?
God bless you, God bless you, bye. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem."
Jamaican?
Yeah. As I'm walking to my day meal, hanging out the window, and she's just giving God praise because she saw me. So the best thing I can say,
This was
this was in New York. Best thing I can say, listen, understand the power of hello, good afternoon, and good evening.
That goes for the Jews too.
Right. And also, since you live close to each other, learn how to speak each other's language. Shalom Aleichem goes a long way. Goes a very long way.
how's your Hebrew coming along?
I mean, I need to hit the books, honestly. I need to hit the books. Like content, I don't understand, but context, I do understand. So I dabble, but I need to get better because it's a deep level of reverence and of respect. Again,
You came to Israel
Time.
when? You came to Israel?
first time 2015.
But when you did Aliyah?
Officially through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
11th of March. Sorry,
the
yeah.
10th of
So
Adar.
it takes some time, you know.
It takes some time, but like, and of course, I am an Ivrim, so I have to learn Lashon Kodesh,
Yeah.
not just for my sake, but for the sake of me, being here.
Purifying the air.
And you,
Purifying the air, purifying my body. That's why it's so important for you not to talk when the Torah is being read, because what people don't understand is that the way that your ear works, it receives sound, and there's a bone that strikes your eardrum, and that bone causes reverberation, and you hear everything, and it resounds through your body. So if you're hearing the sound of all sounds,
it messes with.
shut up, so you can get recalibrated, so you can have a good week.
Welcome to the pod.
So before I depart, I do want to bring over some Torah that I did learn, that I find very meaningful and important. In this righteous rebellion that we all are a part of, whether we like it or not, you have to understand how the Yetzer Hara and the Satan works. The first time that the Satan introduces himself in the narrative of our people, what does he do? He doesn't make a command, he asks a question. Mm-hmm. Why does he ask a question?
But doubt.
No.
No.
No. That in line with that.
Okay.
He asks a question so he can get intel and information. The dark side only operates with the information that you give them. That's it. Do you really think that you're gonna die? That's what he asked. That's what he asked her.
Yourself.
Exactly. That's what he asked her. Do you really think you're gonna die? It was a question. So the minute you open your mouth, you give them power. And everybody talks about, doubt, Amalek. The first time that we fought them, we were at a place called Refadim, right?
Soft.
So what happened? When you read the Tarjum, it tells you very plainly that they set upon us and that they took prisoners from Shevet Dan, right? How was that able to happen? Because unfortunately, the Plishtim, Avimelech, that's a Hebrew name, they're from within our people, unfortunately. They're the people that Har Sinai said, you know what? We'll hang with you guys, but we don't want this. But we'll still hang out with you. But we don't want the response. We don't want the malchut, but we'll still hang out with you guys. It's very interesting because I learned when Amalek takes prisoners, they cut off the Brit Milah and they throw it in the sky because they're literally throwing in God's face what their mother was denied, and that was to be in the nation, because Timnah, Eliphaz, all of that. It's a really deep situation, but don't give the dark side any information. Don't let this world be your pimp. Don't let it prostitute you to be able to say, you know what? I'll sleep in a little later. You know what? I don't really have to keep Shabbat. You know what? I don't have to be responsible with my body. It's my body anyway, and God gave it to me. I can give it to whomever I please, whenever.
YOLO.
Yeah, you can. But just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And if you don't, you'll respect yourself a whole lot more. And it makes it 1,000 times, because I know that that's the biggest like struggle in this generation is our promiscuity. And I'm not just talking about the women. I'm talking about the men as well, and the men especially, because in my opinion, the reason that our women conduct themselves how they do is because of how the men see them and how they treat them. They will jump over a modest woman to get to a woman who is immodest. And I don't just mean by dress. I mean also by speech. And modesty is just important for men as it is for women. It's about how you speak to people, how you conduct yourself, how you eat. Even that, you know, like how you eat, and like and also how you treat yourself. And it all starts with, I believe, how we wake up. Because it says, you know, be like a lion, and everybody assumes that means I just jump out of bed and just, you know, and I'm just ready to go. Lions wake up extremely slowly, very slowly, and they stretch and they look around, and you know, they're still stretching and looking. Then they get up, and then they go on their way. And even if you don't want to be a part of this righteous rebellion, even as you're doing something you have no business doing, it's still gonna you're still gonna be a part of it. Yonah, he thought he was running from God. He was on the boat. I think it's Rabbi Hanina in the Gemara. He says that the men on the boat spoke 70 different languages. If they speak 70 different languages, what does that mean? It means that they're representative of the 70 different nations. And this is what I pulled from that. What questions did they ask him? Where are you from? Who's your God? And like, what's your profession? Because they were like, yo, we're the only boat getting thrown around. This dude must be a wizard. He's like, no, I need Ivri. My name is Yonah, and I'm running from God. They all started freaking out. Why did they start freaking out? Because they knew how powerful his God was. What was the first thing they did? They threw all of their idols overboard. And when he said, throw me into the water, they were hesitant. Why were they hesitant to do so? I believe it's because they had reverence for Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noah. So they didn't want to murder this man. And also they had reverence for his God. So they slowly put him in the water. But then it says, after they pulled him to port, what did they do? They made the Korban. And that Korban is also explained as to them making the Brit Milah and them consecrating themselves to come to Yerushalayim for Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuot. So even when you think you're running from God, you're still doing his will. And when you get thrown overboard, bro, it's amazing. When you get thrown overboard, what happens? You're in the water. What is water? Water is Torah. And what is a fish? A fish is a gilgul of a tzaddik. What happened to Yonah? He got swallowed by a fish. So, bro, you're in the holiest place you could possibly be.
The downfall.
You can't run from God. And since we're on water, I'm gonna tell you a story, and then we'll wrap up so we can have this delicious bird. So there's this gentleman who wants to change his life. His life is across the ocean. His new life is across the ocean. So he saves up his money, he buys a ship, and he packs it with everything. So then he starts sailing. Then this massive storm comes, and the storm is super, super, super dense. The stars aren't even out. The guiding light doesn't exist anymore. And the guiding light behind him doesn't exist anymore. So he's in this darkness, and there's just so much water. Only light is that of the lightning. I got two choices. I can turn the boat around, try to turn the boat around, and I'll possibly broadside and die. Or I can keep my hands on this wheel, and I can just keep going. So he keeps his hands on the wheel, and he keeps going. There's one port, dock open, parks his boat in, middle of the night, jumps off, ties it down, goes to the inn, goes to sleep. Everybody wakes up and they're like, yo, there were 4 boats here, now there's number 5. So they keep looking for this captain. They're looking for him. And they're like, okay, he's not like from here, we've never seen him, so it must be you. And they're like, you must be the best seaman, captain, sailor, all of that in the world. Tell us about your greatness. And he says, I'd rather tell you about my God. That's what it's all about. That's how you weather the storm. And you gotta hold it down. We're Ivrim. We don't have the luxury of. Somebody asked me one time, are you afraid of such and such? I said, I'm an Ivrim. I don't have the luxury of fearing other men. I don't get that. I don't get permission to do that. That's not in my blood. It doesn't exist. So, yeah, that's it. I mean, in case you guys haven't heard it today or this week or this month or this year. I'm pretty sure you've heard it, but I love the both of you very much, and I'm super happy that you guys are alive. And thank you, brother.
Thanks for coming.
No problem. I'm glad to be here. And shout out to this delicious whiskey. Shout out to all the Jews in the four corners of the world. May they come home.
May they all come on the podcast.
May they all come on the podcast. To my dear big brother, the Aluf Abir. To everybody who came before me and to everybody who's going to come after me. Not that I'm somebody. I'm just saying, like, our history is constantly unfolding, and I'm just so blessed to be a part of it, and I want to be the best Evet Hashem I can possibly be.
Zat Hashem. You have to get your wife. You married?
No, not yet, but I'm looking, and I honestly do believe, and I said I was going to end, but I'll end it with this, that the world is spherical. It's a circle, right? I believe that you're on different sides of that circle, and when you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're facing each other on those sides before you even meet. And as you come to whatever the apex is, if you're doing good, you face her, she faces you, like the cherubim, like the cherubim, right? But when you're a little off, you may be turned away, but she may be facing you. But when you do everything that you are supposed to do by yourself, and you need that other half, that's when you guys meet face to face at that apex.
For sure.
That's what I wholeheartedly believe. And wherever she is, like it says in Shil Shirim, I'm gonna love you until like you're sick of me. She's gonna be sad for the rest of her life. It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ariel Yaniv Ha'or Payne or Fine.
Mr. No, straight up in the office, they said, Mr. Payne, Fine, whatever your name is, window 54.
Zat Hashem, may there be a straight geula in the month of Nisan.
Amen.
Freedom.
May the real, geula
just
be
freedom,
this.
and there's no such thing as freedom without Torah. The Torah is the bounds, the limitations, right? It limits you, but within those limits, you're free to move anywhere you want, as long as you stay within the lines. So that is real freedom. Real freedom is when you have a clear message in life. So B'ezrat Hashem, and we all merit to a kosher Pesach, a happy Pesach, and a good month of Nisan, when we see Mashiach and not have to do anything but the korban of Pesach, eat it with a little bit of matzah with the taste still on it, and some good wine. B'ezrat Hashem.
Amen.
Chaim l'chaim.
Love you guys.
May God be with you.
Amen. Ashreinu.
Subscribe.
Oh yeah, subscribe.
Like,
click
share.
that like button.
Yeah.
Then use your friend's computer and click that like button.
Exactly.
Then use your
Make
friend's
another
smartphone
YouTube
and click right.
Click again the subscribe button. Welcome to the pod.
Is it actually Einstein's birthday?
You saw what?
That's so crazy.
Who are the Sanyas?
No, you know what I did? Albert Einstein.
Oh,
You know what I
Einstein.
did?
We're not gonna do l'chaim for him.
It's so crazy.
You know he invented
No,
the
but-
atomic bomb.
I'm super familiar. Super familiar with that.
Why not? In the end of the day, he made tshuva.
Really?
Yeah, what do you mean? He talked about God the whole end of his life.
No way.
Yeah, he said
Let's
that
talk
the more-
about
the more
that.
you learn
Tell
science,
us.
the more I
Wait,
find,
you're not in the mic. We're recording. Tell us about that.
Are we recording on the big camera?
Yeah, we're recording.
So
Wait,
guys, this is gonna be
it's
mad.
Einstein's yard side. You said literally.
No, it's his birthday.
It's birthday.
So I'll tell you what happened, how I just found that out. Funnily, I was just trying to get some engagement on Instagram. So I put trying to beat the algorithms. That's the whole game. So I put a little quiz on our story. Whose birthday is it today? I put 4 options: Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Nachman, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, or Albert Einstein. 4 random people that came to my head. The answer is Rabbi Nachman.
Wait,
Clear.
Today's his birthday.
today's Rabbi Nachman's birthday.
Aleph Nisan.
Oh, wow.
Because he was yesterday.
Yeah.
That's definitely l'chaim worth.
But I also put Albert Einstein, and it happens to be March 14th is
No
Albert
way.
Einstein's birthday.
No, bro, you good.
Pashka chapati, that's crazy.
You tapped in, so you good.
So whoever clicked Albert Einstein got their question wrong, but they actually got it right.
Wow.
You
So-
should print a retractment. For those of you that guessed Albert Einstein,
It's not his Hebrew birthday, so he was a Jew. Chaim, Chaim.
Thank you.
Chaim, you
Chaim.
didn't do any l'chaim?
Yeah.
No, there's like one l'chaim missing here.
No, I got right here.
Oh, it was hidden from me. It was concealed.
Although my father told me
Like
he doesn't
Hashem's
want me
presence.
to be drinking on air.
May Hashem's presence and the whiskey
That's a
glasses
good-
be
that's a
revealed.
good, what is it called? That's a good thing.
What are you doing? What are you doing, bro?
I'm such an
What
alcoholic.
are you,
I'm just poor for
alcoholic?
myself. Wait, let me finish this one.
No.
Bro, he's had a hard life. It's okay. Let him.
I just had a baby, man.
This is what babies do to you?
I just had a baby.
That's what
bro.
babies do.
Pick
Babies
it up a little bit.
I didn't sleep all
Pick it
night.
up a little bit.
Babies turn you into alcoholics.
No, they turn you into fathers.
Nice.
But it's a side effect, maybe.
Side effect.
I don't know. It's only been 3 days so
Side
far.
effect of
Never
fatherhood also includes alcoholism.
and all the other drugs. Chaim.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו.
I mean.
Amen.